Hello, this is Matt, and you're listening to That Time We Woke Up in a Podcast and Had to Explain Manga, our heated adventures overanalyzing manga we find interesting. This week, I somehow managed to convince the rest of the cast to do another sports manga, so we are reading Blue Lock, written by Muneyuki Kaneshiro and illustrated by Yusuke Nomura. This week we read chapters 1 through 15, which gets you about halfway through the introduction arc. So suit up, get your stretches in, and make sure to leave it all out on the field because, end of the day, there can only be one winner. Enjoy the episode.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Over Manga Cast. My name is Sam, and as always here at the top of the show, we talk about our familiarity with the franchise that we read this week. For me, I had heard Blue Lock get talked about here and there, but I never looked at it more closely than that. I don't know why, but I had it in my head that something called Blue Lock has to be like a mech show, right?
You're thinking of Blue Gender.
I might have been. I was very wrong, but that's about it.
I would think it'd be about badminton, but that'd be Blue Box. Or, also conveniently, it might be about blues jazz.
But then that would just be Blue Giant.
Yeah, but it's definitely not about painting. So in no way could it be Blue Period.
Exactly. So anyway, Matt, what's your familiarity with it? I mean, other than the fact that you ghost wrote it.
Blue Giant. No. Blue Lock is something I read pretty regularly. I'm not caught up with it, but I also wait for the volumes to go on sale digitally. So I'm kind of lazy about it, but I read it in bulk. It is a sports manga. It is up my very narrow wheelhouse of like a sports manga death game kind of thing. And it has people yelling at each other to stop feeling good about yourselves and just succeed. And I'm like, yes, good. All of these things I approve of.
Again, that's why we say Matt Ghost wrote this. Jay, how about you?
Sure. So actually, this came highly recommended from Matt. It actually falls in line. I'm the one on the podcast who generally does not like sports manga. However, I do like prison death situations. I'm a huge fan of, hopefully we'll get around to reading Dead Man Wonderland. Like so many children, I grew up with soccer, played soccer for many years, and I was intrigued. So this is a first read through for me. And yeah.
And Jacob.
The most exposure to the title Blue Lock that I've gotten is Matt mentioning it on the podcast. So pretty much completely blind for me.
As one might expect from a soccer manga, we open up with the World Cup, the biggest soccer. Well, actually, we don't open up on the World Cup strictly. We open up with.
Is it strictly right before or right after the last World Cup? I think they're gaining momentum towards the next World Cup.
I think it was right after the previous one because Japan lost.
They show footage of the lost game.
Mm-hmm. Yep, Japan getting taken down in the best of 16. And so we open up our story in Japan Football Union, where the board is talking about what the heck are we gonna do about this? Where we meet our first named character, one Henri Thierry. She is a new hire, and she does the classic thing of telling the stupid lazy old men what stupid lazy old men they are.
Like that, uppity young woman. Telling us how it is.
What I like the most about this is that this manga gets directly in your face with its aesthetic very quickly because it has this little boardroom meeting that people are talking. Like 5 chapters in, extreme close-up of Henri's very severe expression as she's like, if this continues like it is, Japan will never win the World Cup. We have to revolutionize Japanese soccer so we can get victory. Like, okay, calm the hell down. And then no one calms the hell down this entire manga.
In fact, people get more extreme.
Yes.
The lazy old men in the boardroom can't stop commenting about her chest, which I'm not going to lie, it's sort of interesting. I don't think that she has entirely unrealistic proportions. This is not a manga that like goes ultra extreme with the female character designs. So
Well, designs, you're being a bit generous there, Jacob.
Fair.
There's a female character design.
Well, yeah, that's
sometimes there's a gender. I do agree with Jacob's characterization of design, because a lot of these women, come on, do not exist in reality outside of a doctor's office.
They're not a human body shape, you know. And
all the other characters in this are how humans look.
Oh my god, this manga loves its exaggerated proportions so much.
I mean, yeah.
One thing that I noted is that Andre's kind of the only like air quotes fan service character. There's still a lot of male gaze in this manga, not necessarily the aspect of male gaze, which is
the one that's most talked about. Yeah.
Sam, there's a lot of male gaze. Okay, shut up.
There's also the male gaze of the idealized male form.
Yes, that's what I was. That's part of what I was referring to.
Yeah, and that is like 90% of this manga.
I was here for it. It made me feel things, Sam.
I mean, I enjoyed it too.
It is one of those things where it's like
reasons.
I'm part of the half of the podcast that doesn't necessarily appeal directly, but it is nice to see those sorts of things because my and half of Sam's demographic and Matt, I assume Matt's demographic. I don't want to talk for you, but it is oversaturated.
It's undersaturated. We actually need to amp this up by like 10.
No. I mean, what is in Blue Lock is an undersaturated thing. The opposite is oversaturated.
Yes.
The thing we were talking about with the that's not how people work.
Hold on.
We've watched a couple. I mean, remember we read and very early on Shumetsu no Valkyrie, and then there was Dr. Stone.
Dr. Stone's a much better example. Yeah, it's just sexy.
Egalitarian. Yeah, Dr. Stone is very egalitarian.
We're spending a lot of time talking about sexy bodies for this manga about soccer.
I can't emphasize this enough. It's very important.
But there are a lot of sexy bodies in this manga.
Yeah, there is a copious amount of sweating. There is. I don't think that there's a single panel anywhere in this manga where someone isn't either concerned sweating or like, did you just get pulled out of the ocean?
But they do it in such a beautiful artistic way. It's just like, oh yes, listen, slippery.
They're either dripping in sweat or just got out of the shower.
Oh.
Sometimes hard to tell. Like they'll be steaming, and you're like, "Did you just get out of a shower, or did you just get off of a workout?"
Yes.
No, they just got off of the workout, and that's their sports battle aura. There's that too that we'll get to.
I was gonna say that's kind of a plot point, but that's significantly later. We haven't even really gotten to the inciting incident of all of this.
We have introduced one character so far. That is the female manager.
Yeah. We need to actually get down to introducing our protag-kun, who is, well, first it's important to say that...
It's not even our protag, right?
Right. Well, it's important that Andre convinced the board to hire a new coach that will revolutionize Japanese soccer in order to get a World Cup victory. Jinpachi Ego.
He is named like a Marvel villain.
We will get to him. He is just foreshadowed right now as we cut to the qualifiers for Scholastic Nationals. High school second year Yoichi Isagi, our protag, in the midst of the game that if they win will send his high school team to nationals. He is mere instance away from shooting on the goal, but his teammate is wide open. So soccer is a team sport, so pass to teammate who flubs the shoot.
Mm-hmm.
Or the opposing team uses this opportunity to counter with their star player, Golden Boy Ryusuke Kira, the rising star, the jewel of Japanese youth soccer, very swiftly scores a magnificent goal and gets the winning point for his team. I love how this manga starts off as acting like it's going to be your kind of standard shonen fare. You know, we've got our dark-haired protag, we've got our light-haired obvious rival. Soccer is a team sport. Isagi's coach is talking like, I know that this was the last chance for some of you because you're upperclassmen, but this team will always live on in my heart. It feels...
No, this line I really love, because what he says is, to me, this team will be the best team, is the greatest team in all of Japan. And it's that exact line that has Isagi go, no, if we were the best team, we'd be going to nationals right now. Shut up. And that's like this entire time Isagi's going through like what you would expect from a sports manga. It's like, no, come on, you got to just keep fighting. You got to work with your teammates and we can all work together. And Isagi's really just coming to the conclusion, no, I trusted someone. They let me down. I should have just taken initiative and done it myself to guarantee it got done. And like, it's this scene where he just has that primal scream of just anger to himself that he'd been kept bottled up this entire time. And he just goes like, I am so pissed off at myself. I could have won.
Mm-hmm. And if you want the job right, you better do it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Despite losing the opportunity at nationals, it's not quite all over yet for our young hero as he returns home to his parents, who are just the most blasé parents ever, which is good because they don't matter.
They're in about a quarter of one scene.
They're real supportive, but don't know what they're talking about. They're like, oh, how'd your game go, buddy? We lost. Aw, you want a pork cutlet? You should have done that before the game. Oh, really? Oh, well.
I find it hard to believe, though, because, I mean, I understand perhaps them not being keyed on to the specifics, but I mean, the fact that, and this is possibly me stereotyping 100%, but it's just like the fact that neither dad nor mom knew anything about sports. Like I get the inclination that neither of them had been part of, like, not necessarily like team sports or even like sports growing to school or growing up.
Yeah.
And that sticks out as very odd to me.
The match they played was literally what got them into nationals. Like, the other team got interviewed by the news. So this was a very important match, and they seemed to think it was just another game.
Yeah.
Like there's being, oh, I'm going to support your hobby. I don't really get it. But I mean, like, this is sports. I feel like there's a wider audience for sports than, again, going back to our previous episode.
His parents are nerds.
Like, I guess that's the only explanation, but yeah.
Waiting for Isagi at home is a letter from the Japan Soccer Federation, an invitation to special player training. And that's all they know.
There's a location and who it's from, basically, and that's it.
And he shows up right as our obvious rival. Kira also shows up. And I love this scene. Kira is like the bright, sparkly, perfect Bishi boy. You know, he's like, hey, great match the other day. You remember me from that one, right? It's like, oh yeah, you're Kira, the golden boy. It's like, I totally remember you. You've got a great sense of the game. Anyway, I hope in this special training program we can become great friends. Maybe we'll even be on the same team. And he's just so peppy. And I was just waiting for the moment where he has the ego breakdown. And it does happen, just not where I thought it would be.
But like, well, what they're doing right now is like, Kira is kind of getting all the flags for this is the main character. You know, he's got the like, I'm naturally gifted. I just want everyone to have I'm doing this for the love of my teammates and the love of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, what we get from Isagi is he just had a mental breakdown by the river because he like dared to let his teammate have a shot at victory.
Which sets up the important contrast between these our two primary characters.
Well, currently primary characters.
Yes.
We'll get to that.
But before their budding friendship or rivalry or whatever can go any further, now we actually meet Shinpachi Ego, and holy shit, this guy.
He's great. This is part of the reason why, like, I wanted to mention about character design being so unusual, and also this being one of the instances where his unusual character style made me realize a certain feature that I had never considered before as being particularly interesting. He has a long neck. Did anyone else pick up on that? A really weird...
So long.
I can't explain it, but it's very, very interesting. I'll just leave it at that.
Like, everything about this guy is stretched just beyond what you'd think is like an acceptable human proportion.
Yes.
Ladies.
Which is almost, god damn it. Including his smile, which is I mean, he has some Junji Ito panels, in all honesty. Let's be real.
He gets the most of what Blue Lock loves doing is the fisheye lens on someone's eyeball of like the like that anime face of oh no.
Yeah, but instead of going oh no, it's him going omoshiroi. But he's got a very strong character introduction because the lights go out, a spotlight's on him, and he says, "Congratulations, you lumps of unpolished talent. I've determined you're the 300 best strikers in Japan under 18. And I am going to grind you down until there's just one of you to be the best striker and win the World Cup for Japan." Okay? It's like, he kidnaps 300 high school kids. To put them in a soccer factory.
It's claimed later on that he got permission from the parents.
All the people volunteered for this. They show up at a second location. Like they are picked up by a bus. So
yeah, he does also explicitly mention if you have a problem with this, you can just leave.
Well, if you have a problem with this, you can piss off. You pathetic loser.
Apparently no one did, though, because they sent the invites out to 300 people. 300? Yeah, 300, and then...
It's 300 people in the thing.
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting in its own right. There are the elements of... Ego does actually talk about his philosophy when it comes to strikers. The golden boy, light-haired rival character who loves teamwork literally only decides to go because he wants to prove it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Which is saying something because if you remember correctly, in order to agree to this, you had to basically quit your current team. So apparently Ego just decided before Japan's like high school nationals for soccer, all the strikers are getting recruited. So multiple teams lost their key player.
Which is hilarious. Like, everything this guy does is so wildly over the top. It's funny. But yeah, his philosophy is that strikers will be born where the game is the hottest in the world. So he has created the Blue Lock, a facility where they will be pitted against each other in brutal competition until one stands atop the bodies of the other 299.
It's beautiful. Pure competition. Pure bloodshed. I love it. There could be one.
This is where the full plot line gets revealed to everyone that, yes, you are reading a sports manga about a group of people locked in a prison fighting to the death with quotation marks around death because they're just kicked out and are told they can never play soccer professionally.
No, you don't understand.
It is the death of their dreams.
They can never represent Japan again.
In any capacity. Well, at least not sports.
Well, at least in any soccer capacity.
Well, the other thing is the way that it's framed is that since Ego is part of the Japanese soccer league, he just wouldn't let you onto the team. So it's one of those ones where
you get blacklisted. Essentially,
it comes off way more threatening because it's Ego and he's a guy. So
everything he does is threatening.
It's one of those ones where it's like if he gets fired, you're probably fine, but also that's not really playing into the thoughts and minds of the teenagers who are currently here. So
well, because most of their dreams are to go represent Japan on the World Cup, because as far as like Japanese soccer goes, that's pretty high up there.
Yeah,
that is the current pinnacle of Japanese soccer, because Japan only recently, we get a little history lesson in a later chapter, but Japan only recently started regularly reaching World Cup levels. So that is the pinnacle as far as playing professional soccer inside Japan is considered. The whole point of Blue Lock is to drag that pinnacle all the way to the winner's circle. I love the bit where Kira is saying like, no, that's stupid. I believe in friendship and the power of teamwork. And
he's like the only one like going off like in like this huge, like assembly room.
I
where
know.
everyone is like captivated listening to this rant by Ego, and he's the only one.
He's main charactering. He's like, how dare you sheep just listen to him? He's a bad guy. And like the whole thing is like, oh yeah, man, you really care about your teammates who you abandoned to come to this meeting.
Oh!
And he's like, I want to be like the great heroes of Japanese soccer. Oh, you mean the ones that never won the World Cup? That trash? How about Noel Noah or Eric Cantona or Pele? All these people who achieved great victories and are the biggest ego-driven, self-centered monsters in the sport.
I do appreciate when in manga, because manga has a bad track record for letting Japanese nationalism have a bit too much of a voice sometimes. Ego comes in and says, Japan ain't shit. If you want to be good, maybe we should succeed rather than come up with excuses. And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
Not an unfair point to make.
And then the door opens, and Isagi seems to be the first one to break, but after him, everybody else just becomes this stampede running into Blue Lock.
That's a very common motif.
Yep. And that's all chapter 1. Like, this manga floors it and does not let up.
Well, hey, if you call a manga Blue Lock and they're not in the prison by the end of chapter 1, what are you even doing? Like,
the letters of consent are just breezed right over. It's like, this doesn't matter.
It's mentioned in passing like 7 chapters.
Is this when we get the overhead shot of Blue Lock to reveal that it is in the shape of a... Oh, no, that's later. But it's in the shape of a soccer ball pattern.
Yeah.
It's a pentagon.
Yeah, it's a pentagon. And it's this incredibly massive facility on the top of a mountain.
Of course. Why wouldn't it be? You could just build facilities on the mountain where you just like completely like not kidnap a bunch of like high schoolers.
I don't think this comes up in our reading, but there's a really funny bit where they cut back to Ego, and he's currently getting yelled at for spending so much money on a prison facility. He did all of this without permission. He just went ahead and spent it.
I was like, yeah.
He got the go ahead to, you said do whatever necessary, so I did.
Yeah, it's like, judging by these facilities, the Japanese Soccer Federation has more money and power than God.
Well, they certainly weren't spending it on making good strikers, so...
Yeah. I mean, given what I know about the actual, International Soccer Federation, that seems about right, but... Our boy Isagi, everyone's given a uniform, which has a counter on it with a number and a letter. And you find the room with the corresponding letter, and that is your dorm. And so Isagi gets his uniform, and it is 299Z. Remember, there are 300 people. I wonder what that number means.
It takes Isagi a little too long.
Yeah, I was gonna mention it's not particularly subtle because it very much doesn't want to be.
Yep. He gets to room C, which is literally just a locker room. It's a locker room without even any benches.
Well, it's a multi-purpose room. It's their locker room, it's their sleep room, it's their common room, it's everything.
And all it has is lockers. That's the only furniture. Maybe if he wants it better, he shouldn't be the bottom of the barrel.
Do we know if the other rooms have more furniture? We know they have different other luxuries or different other...
Well, Ego says as much, yeah.
Ego claimed that, and I figure it's about a 50-50 shot when we inevitably see the higher tier rooms that...
If he was lying or not?
They're all austere, and he told the high-end people that the numbers went in reverse, or alternatively, it is actually... ostentatious. I have no idea. Both of them are equally likely.
I think what he says in this part is the higher end stuff is to you're learning what it's like to be hungry and want something. They're learning how to live on top of the world because they've already proven it. Like he says there's a lesson for both things, but he's also full of shit because he just starts shouting things. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, I could totally see it all being a lie, but also I could totally see it actually being exactly what he said. But yeah, the first test happens literally immediately. Play tag.
That was very scary.
They were there for literally like 5 minutes, and it's immediately like, okay, well, we are going to eliminate one of you. Because they're divided into teams of 6, right? And then they're told the person who is it at the end of 2 minutes and 15 seconds will be out.
I don't think that they're divided into teams of 6. It's just all 12 of them.
Oh, it's all 12 of them. You're right, because there's 11 people on it. Yeah, that makes sense.
You know, whoever gets the ball, hits somebody with it, he gives a specific amount of time. I don't recall off the top of my head, but he claims it's relevant at the end.
If that's the case, the tag chapters, I will say, don't make it very clear how many people are in the room. It makes it clear there are at least 3.
There is a lot of, it takes a little while for Blue Lock to really get into the character swing of things, because there are a lot of sort of balls of character design moving about in the background until we actually get into the final section of our reading, because it's really only focused on Isagi, Kira, and basically 1 or 2 other characters.
Yeah, like Igoguri is or for the tag game at least, he's important, but that he's basically just the comic relief.
Yeah.
He's the comic relief who is, oh man, the main character is 299. That's almost the worst. Hey, you're number 300.
I like him. His whole thing is he doesn't want to
inherit a temple,
and yet every time he goes to do something cool in soccer, he basically goes Namu Amida Butsu. I guess habits die hard.
They set it up very strongly that he has a sad backstory that means he can't possibly lose, which in the context that it's built up to this point is basically, oh boy, he's getting brutally crushed, isn't he?
In your traditional sports manga, you'd be like, you're right, you shouldn't have to do what your dad wants. But in this manga, it's just like, your dream really isn't strong enough. Go back to being a coward.
The tag game plays out, and one of the characters who becomes significantly more relevant later, Bachira, he overtly passes it to Isagi. He doesn't try to peg him with the soccer ball. He's specifically passing it. And Isagi reflexively beans
Kira in the face.
But a few seconds left on the clock.
Not even a few seconds, 1 second singular.
Our little temple boy sprained his ankle, and basically everyone else was like, oh, that dude can't move. We can just take him out and we can have an easy win. And Bachira saw something in Isagi, because Isagi hesitated about just taking the easy way out, because he was just holding on to the ball for like most of their time, actually. Like it was like 40 seconds of their whole thing. He didn't know who to aim at.
Yeah, because Isagi comes to the realization that if Blue Lock is all about making the most powerful striker, if I just beat on those lower than me, I'm never going to become stronger unless I challenge the higher ups. That's not proving that I'm the best. That's just me coasting off of not being the worst.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which won't last long, especially when you're second from the bottom.
That's what Bachira notices Isagi come to that realization and immediately go, oh, I like this kid. He's great. And so he steals the ball and does the whole thing that Jake mentioned.
Oh, and Kira's beaten in the face. The ball drops in front of him, and he just stands there for like the final second and lets that take away of just like, what just happened? I got betrayed?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and you're like, oh no, he was clearly like main character's rival, eliminated in the first round?
Yep.
He goes on a giant temper tantrum about how it's not fair. It's not my fault. What is this test even about?
And Ego has an answer for every one of his questions. Why was this only like 2 minutes, 45 seconds? Because in a 90-minute game, that is the average amount of time any single player individually has control of the ball. Why are we in this tiny room? Because this is the size of the penalty pitch, the penalty zone where most players will be. But I couldn't do anything. You had a whole second to kick the ball anywhere else in this very small room. You didn't do any of that. Piss off, loser.
I don't have time for losers.
I love it. I love it so much because Kira is being set up like throughout this entire time. For one, he's being set up as the main shonen rival. And for two, he's got a lot of flags of the story type of being, you know, shining golden boy for the public, but being this like absolute horrid like demon tyrant behind the scenes. Or the character of the popular kid that gets away with being a complete asshole because he never shows that he's a complete asshole to anyone with actual power.
Yeah.
Yep.
As far as we see, right up until he loses, he keeps the golden boy thing going all the time. He genuinely was that way. And it's only when he gets defeated that it lets a little bit of his ego through, but it wasn't enough to save him in Blue Lock. And so he screams about, how do you really think these people ranked lower than me are better than me? They won, didn't they?
Results speak louder than whatever you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
It's not fair. I did the fundamentals better. I'm like, well, I'm going to tell you this. At the end of the day, soccer is about scoring points, and you didn't.
The thing that I really love is he talks about how he's the shining jewel of Japanese youth soccer. He's this rising star, but he was in the lowest room of the worst wing.
Mm-hmm.
There were at least 290 people that Ego considered to be better than him. And, you know, maybe if you had won the tag game, you could have proved that, but you didn't. So get out of here.
I feel like Ego would be a great dad.
Well,
I don't think that.
Look, we already did the Kaiju number 8 episode. Like, come on.
Traditionally, people willing to cut the people who aren't succeeding would be terrible fathers, because you don't just get to abandon children you don't like.
Right.
For our listeners out there, that was sarcasm.
It appears.
No, it wasn't.
Yes.
You definitely do not get to do that.
And anyway, Kira sulks his way out. Meanwhile, Isagi's having a moral crisis because he's like, oh man, that really sucks. Kira's entire career was ruined. He had such promise. But why does this feel so good?
Why does this make me feel some way? Yes, there was a lot of it reading this.
On a reread, I forgot how this is like a part of Isagi's character the whole way through. Are these little spikes of just maliciousness, this enjoying other people's pain.
What
and
do they call this?
I could have done better.
Schadenfreude.
There we go.
It's other people failing means I succeed, and it's just
it's so
yes.
delicious.
There is a moment later on that is just hauntingly powerful. The art in this is spectacular, by the way. Every time we have a two-man team of mangaka on the show, we make a point of talking about how great the manga or the art is. This has some really striking art, and there's a moment later where Isagi gets a win, and he walks up to the character that basically was his foil through that entire combat, and stands over him. He doesn't even say anything. He just stares down at him wide-eyed, shaking this feels so good, as he's watching this other character crying.
Mm-hmm.
And it's such an intense tableau. But that's later. Right now, Ego continues to be the nuttiest character by being like, hey, that feeling of survival? That's victory. Carve it into your brains. We continue the rest of the trials later.
I mean, I made the joke about how his name was that of a Western comic book villain. His everything is that. I would not be shocked if he came out in a cyber suit at some point. crime facilitating soccer themed cyber suit that he could rob a bank with or something.
So
yes.
I don't think in our reading it gets as insane as it gets later, but you find out he's got some impressive tech.
Oh no!
Oh, good.
It's pretty bad right now because he's got those like electronic badges that have the like those are real. The holographic displays are, they're at least invisible.
Theoretically possible.
They're not. Yeah, they're not too far out from what already exists.
Yeah. And like the entire facility is automated, so that's also kind of weird. But you know, it's all within a realm of possibility. He goes a little down the Tony Stark rabbit hole of I invented this thing, and I'm like, well, I guess he doesn't invent; he just buys it. So I'm not. He literally has too much money.
There is such a thing as having too many resources, and it is Jinpachi ego.
This is also where we get a bit of an interstitial chapter where they hand wave the whole consent forms thing.
They had the parents sign consent forms.
Yeah, but right before that interstitial chapter, there is one where after the tag match, we get a bit of an idea of what daily life in Blue Lock is like. It's like right down to the minute, everything is scheduled, training, eating, sleeping, that sort of thing. And they are in soccer
prison. Their days are itinerized.
Yep. We get a few, even their uniforms are kind of prison outfits because they're like skin type. They're like black jumpsuits with stripes on them. Sure, they're not exact.
Look like Under Armour, like bodysuits. Hot.
It's like it's a crossover. It's a cross between the stereotypical black and white striped prison uniform and Under Armour.
I think there's a throwaway line that those bands are actually like restrictive, like they're elastic. So there's kind of like they're constantly doing resistance training in these jumpsuits, but it doesn't really matter. But it's like they're tech jumpsuits to make training better. Like it, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, we meet a few more members of Team Z. Like we have Raichi, who is just Bakugo. Why are you in this manga? You're in the wrong manga.
I don't know. I think Bakugo fits better in this manga than he arguably does.
See,
Hiroaka.
Like you say that, but then like there's other times where like I agreed with you in that one still of him, but then like other times I'm like, this isn't Bakugo.
I think the first time he shows up, he looks way more Bakugo than he ever does later on. So
yeah,
I think that's just that one angle.
I also actually, now that I think about it, I don't know, when did this come out? This could be older than Hiroaka for all I know.
Let's see. I'm going to assume that's unlikely.
Because Hiroaka is like what, on its fourth season now?
2018. This also takes place in 2018, so the super technology they have makes no sense.
Yeah, because a lot, like all the tech that, at least in our reading section, we've seen is basically exaggerated versions of real things that exist. But like that sort of implies near future. But yeah, because I did just want to note that, we're joking about this being Bakugo stepped into the wrong series. It is a joke because he's obviously not Bakugo. It is just funny that he has a similar, not the same, but a similar personality and a similar character design on top of it.
We also have my favorite member of Team Z, Kuon, who is, he's just kind of chill. He's kind of like Brock-like in that he's the almost sideline character who is the wiser and older archetype. He also jump real good. Like Jumpman Mario.
He has nice hair.
He jump good.
He does have.
They all have nice hair, Jay.
They do all have.
Shut up. Okay, I unfortunately have very little to contribute to this conversation other than they real hot and they kick good and they do good things. Yes.
I gotta say, I think there has to be part of their regiment of like their like itinerary for each day has to be go to barber, get nice fade. Like these people have immaculate hairstyles.
I know, and it drives me insane. Like literally one of the characters later on, I was talking to Matt about this. I'm like, dude literally went to get a fade like within like a day or so. Because no way,
dude got his team name faded into his head. Like, oh, what? I'm on Team X. Well,
Team X.
Which is insane because when that game happens, it's an hour after they showed up at the facility. So, like,
that's what I mean. Too coincidental.
I thought it was after at least a
was
day.
it the
Because I thought there was.
They have time to settle into the rhythm of the prison before the selection.
They get their first meal. Which did we talk about how the meal is a bowl of rice, a cup of miso soup, and then a side dish that is determined, I can only assume, entirely randomly by what your number is. Well, they always get the same side dish, but when they show the teams like what the side dishes are in ranking, I'm like, okay, you've got your meats up top, and then you go to like less desirable things. But like one of the top picks for at least the lower division we saw is fried vegetables, and I'm like, that's above fried chicken.
Yeah.
Huh.
That's above fried chicken. That's Temple Boy Ikaguri, that's his name. Well, that's his nickname because it's a portmanteau of his first and last. But Ikaguri always gets pickled radish. Isagi always gets natto. They get real bored of it real quick. But the main purpose of this chapter is to introduce formally Bachira, this weirdo.
He's character.
He's something.
He has a lot of similarities to Ego in a lot of ways.
He's great.
He's real into Isagi.
Oh yeah.
He is a long-haired pretty boy who is real into Isagi, and
I ship it.
He plays soccer because it, quote unquote, awakens the monster within him.
There's quite a lot of shipping in this too. If that's what you're looking for, you won't go wanting.
Oh yeah, Yaoi fans, read this. You will not regret it. Like, there's a point in this chapter where Isagi and Bachira are training together. And it's like, what? So why did you pass to me during tag? Well, because there's a monster in me. And it comes out and talks when I'm playing soccer, stuff like steal that goal, move around more. But in that moment, and he gets like forehead to forehead, like meeting eyes with him, it's like the monster inside me said, pass to Isagi.
Now kiss.
He has a monster inside too.
So hot.
It is insane. The sexual tension, and yet the shonen battle fervor at the same time.
Yeah. They are. Bachi is way too into Isagi because he's just like, you excite me in a lot of ways. A lot of ways.
There is a moment later where they are having a celebratory meal with steak, and Bachi is feeding Isagi.
Right.
Yep.
It's like, let Bachira put the meat in your mouth, Isagi.
Bachira is legitimately into Isagi. That's not a joke.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
No. And it's great. It's a wonderful character dynamic. I enjoy it a lot.
I mean, in a lot of ways, like the shonen battle tension, honestly should result in these sorts of dynamics more often. If you can claim anything about Blue Lock, it's that as a series, it is not a coward. It does not shy away from that, and you can't not respect it.
Would you say that shying away is a personality trait of winners, Jacob?
Oh God.
And now we discover why.
I'm just saying this isn't. I'll go even further. This is a soccer harem manga.
It really
Soccer
is.
harem prison manga. I'm okay with it.
Bachira has the strongest ship with Isagi, but a bunch of other characters do too.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, again,
Origami.
Yep.
If you're looking for it, you won't go wanting.
But yeah, it's here where we have the little interstitial chapter, which it does feel like a sort of thing of, hey, you picked up the... I guess I can't really say this because it's at the end of volume 1, but it's like, oh, hey, you're just picking up this manga now? Here's something that will get you right into the meat of it with a quick recap. But it starts with a sports journal interviewing a new character, one Sei Itoshi, who wanted to leave this pathetic, stalled out nation of Japan and go and play soccer somewhere cool like Spain or Germany.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, man, this interview's bunk. I'm leaving.
I only came back because my visa expired.
Oh man, you never want to play for the Rising Sun? It's just like, I would legitimately rather play college soccer in Germany. Ooh.
This interview is over.
Yeah. And he's like, is my passport renewed yet so I can go back to Europe? This is bullshit. Hey, wait, what's this press conference? Blue Lock, you say?
Maybe I will stick around for a while.
I love this press conference.
It's even more extreme than that, too. It's like his assistant just goes, okay, well, you should leave. Your passport's been renewed, and we've got your flight scheduled. And so, cancel it. I'm staying to see how this ends. And I'm like, buddy, Blue Lock is going on for 6 months. We just got established. These people are in jail for 6 months.
Yes, I love this press conference because it's Henri and one of the old dudes from the board, and the old dude is trying to respond to the questions of the press corps. Like, isn't this kind of immoral to destroy 299 careers? What do the parents have to say about this?
Yeah,
is it really?
No, the press corps is very important questions of like, how did you kidnap 300 children and put them in a box? Why are these kids who didn't do anything in a jail with no rights? Are you a monster? And I love how the manager just responds, shut up. Don't you love your country? Don't you know that we'll be the best at soccer? And everyone is cool with that answer because we're in a sports manga.
Henri gets up, slams her palms on the table, and goes, "This is what is needed to take Japan to the next level."
Well, that's sort of the thing, though, because the press corps doesn't seem particularly pleased by these answers. Isagi just leaves. That's sort of the
move.
That's sort of the thing where there is, to some extent, I feel like Blue Lock is a very self-aware series. It knows how crazy it is. It knows how dumb it is at times, and it's sort of reveling in that to its great benefit.
There's a thin lining of Blue Lock that is like, it's definitely not a parody, but like there's a slight sheen of it's aware it is a death game about something that doesn't actually kill people, but it does like poke fun at that genre of like, so we were just cool with a prison where we caused children to murder each other, right? That was a thing we were okay with for this series. As like, yes. And like Blue Lock, at the end of Volume 1, you get the press conference of people going like, hey, I'm not okay with this. Like, what is this?
I'm not okay with this. Too bad. We're going to keep going because the series hasn't been canceled yet.
I mean, surprisingly or not surprisingly, the press corps isn't really there to do much except for reporting.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Wait, the press corps doesn't make legislation?
Amazing.
I need to retake my civics class.
Yes, please do.
More news at 11.
Yes.
But the entire time that Henri is like doing her big speech, it's cutting in with Ego doing another broadcast into Blue Lock, talking about how, all right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna rebuild soccer from zero because it's time for the first selection. We're holding a round-robin tournament of each wing. The 5 teams in that wing are going to compete in this tournament. The top 2 teams get to move on. The bottom 3, out of here. Except if you were on a losing team and you scored a bunch of goals, you got the chutzpah for it, so you get to stay.
I know none of this makes sense, but I will bullshit my way into an explanation later.
So good luck, dumbasses. Have fun, except don't have fun. That's not winning. Bye.
Not mince words, and I appreciate it. I'm here for it.
I really do like how this is set up too, but it's very clearly designed. Like the whole goal thing is like, hey, you guys are all like gonna play like regular soccer, and at the end of the day, you're gonna try and win as a team. Because as a striker, you still need to win with a team. But also, we're gonna add this caveat that completely destroys any attempt you're gonna have at making teams by saying, oh, by the way, the person who scores the most points on each team just gets to go ahead anyway, regardless of whether or not their team wins. It's like, well.
There is a really cool moment of it turns into elementary school soccer for a minute.
I think they even call it like dumpling soccer, and I'm just like,
yeah, I that always got called mob soccer to me, but dumpling soccer like makes sense too because they all just like pop together like a dumpling.
I thought it was cute.
One thing Blue Lock is pretty good at is they'll throw terminology at you, and without like slowing down the pace of the story, they'll just give you an asterisk and give you an explanation. Like, for example, just because some of the YouTubers I watched, I knew who Messi was, for example. But like, when they talk about soccer players, they'll be like, this is a person who did this at this point in time. They're very good about keeping the audience abreast of any information that they actually need.
I think it does a really good job of it clearly assumes its primary audience knows what it's talking about. So it gives like just the barest explanation and tries to make it like as less obtrusive as possible, because you don't want to annoy the people who know what they're talking about, but you've also got to be like, well, maybe some people are just reading it and don't know. So it's like, I appreciated it, because sometimes like Blue Period, we talked about the beginning of it, really stumbled from this. So like it would explain things to you from the ground up like you were a complete beginner, which kind of devolved into an entire chapter being an art tutorial, whereas this will not teach you how to play soccer, I guarantee that.
It's actually similar in a lot of ways to Haikyuu. It's like there are people who are picking this up because they know the sport already and they like the sport already. Blue Lock is, because it is so wacky and crazy, it makes a point of like having fourth wall asterisks to explain objectively what this thing is, whereas Haikyuu was a little bit more, like diegetic in the way that it would do it, and it serves Blue Lock really well, because it lets them just use terminology for the people who aren't, aware of it.
Jacob, you remember in the discussion episode we did recently, talking about games and storytelling, one of the things that we discussed was the sign of a good sports manga is, even if you're not familiar with or really invested in this sport, is if by the end of reading it you at least feel a sort of connection to it. And Blue Lock does a really good job of that.
Yeah.
Now maybe I'm not the best example or the best barometer for that particular idea, because I'm not a blank slate for soccer. I played it as a kid, but like it's also been like 20 years since I last played soccer. So
yeah, I mean, the thing for me is I also played soccer as a kid, but I was a goalie, so the striker stuff isn't nearly as
I did the striker stuff. There is one moment that actually awoke a childhood memory for me. It was nowhere near as intense as what actually happened in the manga, but the fact that it actually elicited that memory from me, I consider a big W for the manga.
That's right, folks. We're going to have the Over Manga Cast soccer team, and we're going to go to the World Cup by putting a bunch of people in...
No, we are not. None of us are.
I will play one game of pickup soccer at a con if it's convenient for me.
None of us are that athletic enough for that.
Beer league rules, and that I can fall over.
Anyway, we do have the actual selection to get down to, which has a pretty standard point system of, if you win, you get 3 points. If you draw, you get 1 point. If you lose, you get no points.
And then there's also, for tiebreakers, a point differential.
For penalties.
I love how that's kind of just like, and we'll only care about penalties if it's a point differential, because it's like, yeah, if you want to be a striker, you've got to not care about penalties.
You need to be extremely violent going in.
Fouling doesn't matter if you're still scoring points.
Yep.
Need to win.
The thing that I like the most about the first selection is, it's implied that this is happening across all of the different wings, but we're, of course, only focused on Wing 5. Remember, for Blue Lock, Wing 5 is the bottom of the barrel. These are the biggest losers in this entire facility, and yet everyone talks like they are the hottest.
Mm-hmm.
Which
they keep getting told that the thing point to succeed is to awaken your egotism.
Yeah. And I love how that's represented in the first game between our boys in Team Z, and Team X comes out, and in the lineup, they have a shonen battle aura.
Team X is top tier, because also just going by how they're organized, Team Z's bottom of the barrel. Team X is top of the barrel in their little Group 5 barrel. It's like they immediately put the best team against the worst team.
Yep. Within this division.
Because again, this isn't about like creating fair competition. This is about crushing the weak so they leave.
So that only the best remain. And the game begins. And it rapidly falls apart for our pro tag crew because they are too busy squabbling over the ball because of the whole most goals moves on no matter what rule.
In all fairness, the other team also squabbles over the ball. Everyone is just squabbling and like wily coyoting, like basically, I steal the ball from you, I stole the ball from you. And it's like...
Yeah, it's this big scrum of bodies, and Isagi's just standing on the outskirts of it like, wait, this is just a bar brawl. This isn't soccer. What is this bullshit?
And that's where we get the dumpling soccer mention until someone is able to break out from the pack.
Mm-hmm.
My boy.
Shohei Baro of Team X with his Super Saiyan hairstyle.
Man who razored in an X on the side of each of his temples. Like, it's like, gotta rep the team.
Maybe there is a prison barber. I don't know.
There has to be.
I mean, if they're in here for 6 months, absolutely.
I mean, given the tone of Blue Lock, it's not completely unreasonable to imagine that he came in with that hairstyle, but there's definitely also a prison barber.
He came in with that hairstyle and just so happened to luck into being on Team X.
I'm just saying, are you trying to say there weren't already some, like, Giga Chads in the Mercs?
Well, we know that Mohawk guy from Team Y had that Mohawk because he appears in the crowd shot of Ego's original rant.
That guy with that Mohawk is amazing. Yes. Favorite villain. He's not even a villain, but he's
an antagonist in the strictest sense.
Everyone's an antagonist in Blue Period, including the main character.
And also in Blue Lock.
Oh.
But not in Blue Box.
That's something else, Matt.
But
also, there's much less ghosts than in Blue Exorcist.
Too many blues.
Anyway, Baro scores a very swaggy goal and declares himself king.
Against Team Z's perpetual goalie, whose entire character is basically, I know I'm not a main character, I'll just stand back here, I guess.
I understand someone has to play the goalie.
So might as well be me. But this proves to be Team X's revitalization and Team Z's downfall, as Team X quickly rallies around this standout figure. And Team Z just continues to squabble amongst themselves, fighting over, hey, wait a minute, I'm the main character. No, I'm the main character. Bullshit, I'm the main character, not you.
Because you've got all these like people who are like star players, and their whole thing is, I'm going to trust in my own abilities because if I get the most points on our team, I'm guaranteed to go through regardless of whether or not these idiots fail me. But Baro's whole thing is, I'm the best. I'm going to be the best. And he's got a force of personality that just infects the rest of the team who go, no, we've got Baro on our team. We can't lose. Like, they have the certainty. They don't need to fight anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And that allows Team X to gain a very commanding lead, getting to 5-0 by the end of the towards the end of the match. And it's literally impossible for our heroes to catch up at this point. But Isagi resolves that even if they can't win, it would do wonders for the morale of the team if they at least got on the board at all.
Yeah, because Isagi's just like, the difference between 0 points and 1 point is like crushing. It's the difference between we fought a fight and we got creamed.
And so Isagi and Bachira team up to go for a double play.
The big thing is Isagi isn't really thinking of it in that context. He's just kind of going for it, doing whatever he can. And the big difference is he doesn't pass because his teammate said he was open and asked for it. He instinctively and reflexively reacted
This is such a cool moment, too. Isagi is squared up against Baro, and it's like, all right, you got to our goal. You got to get past me, loser. What are you going to do? And Isagi's standing there like, what am I going to do? And there is this whole panel of where his like eyes and hair are whited out like he's activated Ultra Instinct. And he's seeing everyone on the pitch, the pitch's position, the goalie's position, Baro's, demon aura. And Isagi passes to Kurigami, who lands a massive shot and scores the goal. When Isagi wanted to shoot, but he passed instead, and it worked.
He went face to face with the king, and he did not kneel.
Exactly.
But that's not the way that the king frames it. He looks Isagi in the face and says, if you don't have the guts to shoot, then you should just leave right now.
Yes, he crushes him. He's just like,
you don't have what it takes to be a striker.
Well, because we get that from Baro. His whole thing is everyone else on the field is in service to him. The fact of weak people working together to beat him, it doesn't mean they're a better striker than him. It means they won, I guess. But if I had better teammates, that wouldn't have happened. Says nothing about my status as king.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a quote I really love right here where he's just like, hey, soccer balls, they're not friends like you seem to think. To me, they're little round servants that do my bidding. And I'm like, what the hell, buddy? What are you talking about?
I love that line.
I also like how the characters sort of look at him like, what?
Well, it's because all the other characters are calling him.
Did you really think that was a cool line?
Yeah, because all the other characters call him the king of the field and everything because he's really good, and his hair kind of looks like a crown. But he earns that title. The problem is they're saying you're king of the field, like you're king of soccer. That means something. What he takes it to mean is I am literally a king. Bow before me, peasants. And I'm like, Baro, 2 steps back, buddy. You're making the metaphor literal, and people are thinking you're crazy.
Which is not necessarily untrue, to be fair.
I just love the look everyone gives him of, did you really think that was a good line?
Nobody's impressed. After the game, it was only 2-1, or did they get more than 2?
It was 5-1.
It was 5-1. It was really bad.
It was someone else gets beat way worse is the thing.
I want to know what Baro spent his points on.
Right, because if you score a goal, you get a point on luxuries. He probably spent it on the massage, so you could feel more kingly.
Ooh, the massage. I don't know. 3 points to have your cell phone back is pretty good.
Yeah. Oh, right. They also don't have their cell phones in here because, again, they're in prison.
Yes, the reward system is literally a prison reward system. It's you get a steak for dinner. You get your cell phone back. You can have a upgraded... Oh, you get a bed instead of the futons they're sleeping on. And then 1 day excursion. And I'm just like, that one makes no sense. You're on a very tight timetable.
But Team Z is they're fighting in the locker room about what happened, and it's just like, okay, guys, sure, we lost game 1, but if we win the next 2, we're fine. Or well, if we win the next 2 and then draw 1, we're fine. So as long as we don't lose again, we're okay. Just don't lose again, right?
Well, that's just the one guy, the guy with up saying that.
Yeah, Kiro. Meanwhile, everyone's still screaming.
That's what they do most of the time.
Yeah, everyone's fighting over being a striker. Kurigami does have... I really like him. His whole thing is he's Mr. Fair and Square. So he's just like, that goal I got wouldn't have happened without Bachira and Isagi. So I think that's our hint on going forward. He says they're sitting, having just gotten out of the shower, steaming and dripping wet. And I'm like, God damn, dude.
Some of the other guys are complaining, put some pants on.
Oh, no, that's for Bachira, who's just walking out completely who is buck ass naked.
Yeah, it is him, of course.
Bachira's that guy at the locker room who's just like, yeah, we can be naked in here. I'm like, you technically can, yes. You're doing it in a weird way.
You're making it weird.
That was an amazing goal. Definitely the best goal of the game. If we do that a bunch, we can win. Right, Isagi? Right? Yeah, sure. Also, put your penis away. I don't want to see it.
The other thing that's sort of important is that Kurigame, he's actually not the one who puts it together. He defers to Isagi and he's like, you're the one who figured that out, so we should look to him. And that's where Isagi states out loud what he had been thinking on the field. And then Ego shows up on a monitor that looks into the locker room, because of course it does.
Because what Isagi had come to realize was that that big squabbling of dumpling soccer, that was 0. It was when Baro took control that became 1. And so he's like, okay, we need a hero unit like Baro to center around. And Ego turns on the monitor. It's like, close but no cigar. I don't just need one hero unit. I need you all to be hero units. So find your shonen superpowers and show me what you can do, you lumps of talent. Were you listening to our conversation and also watching us in the locker room? Shut up!
We're not going to talk about that. Click.
But it's strongly implied and also basically, yes, confirmed. Yes, I am constantly listening to you and watching you all the time.
Even when you're showering, especially when you're showering.
Yes, I did see his penis, yes.
Penis measurements of all of you. It was included in the thing that gave you your original ranking.
I'd buy it. Yep. It is incredibly creepy in all the right ways.
Oh, we skipped over my favorite little joke is little monk kid when the first round went by, they woke up the next day and their rankings because their rankings are adjusted each day. They're like,
I loved this.
We went up 25 points. Yeah, we must have done really good in training. And then Ego comes on the screen. It's like, hey, you guys know I just eliminated 1 from every single team. So if you notice your ranking went up 25 points, but only 25 points, it's because there's literally just less people. Oh,
I'm still the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah, that's one of those ones where it's so obvious and Isagi takes a little bit too long to figure it out.
Igaguri takes so long to figure it out.
I don't think Isagi is very bright, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, he's something. I also like how it took me forever to do that math, because I'm just like, wait a second, if you kicked one person out of each group and there's a group for each letter, that's 26 people. That doesn't equal. Was there 301? And then when they get to the map, it's just like, no, there is no group A. It's just B. The lettering starts at B, as is normal.
Well, nobody is the A yet. A is reserved for the best.
You know what? Actually, yeah, they're looking for a team of 5 to send to the division. That's probably like, this is my team A. Mm-hmm. Is the 5 people who are top scorers by the end of the 6 months that go to the... Because the real goal here is they're sending the top 5 people are immediately being put on the U20 team, which is like the under 20 division of the World Cup, which is presumably practice for being on the official team once you become of age. But now my favorite part of every sports manga is everyone needs to find out what their superpower is.
Oh my gosh, this moment is great. Because it's everyone saying what their best feature is, and then there's poor Isagi just like, I don't know, I'm the perspective character?
Which ends up being more true than he realizes.
Also, Ikiguri, my specialty is my relentless spirit. Okay, that's a character trait, not an actual skill.
Makes me feel good.
He is the lowest of them, so... Yep.
Oh, there's also Loverboy, who says his best thing is speed and technique, but really he just treats soccer like he treats dating a girl.
Which is not the greatest, dating advice, by the way. How does he describe it?
The mountaintop flower type. The kind of girl who is always approached by boys, but has never actually gone on a date and so is inexperienced with romance. The second you break down her guard, she's vulnerable. But the thing is, he's actually right about that.
What?
I play soccer just like I love women. quickly and trying as hard to score as possible.
The thing is, he was actually right about that, because that's in the next first selection game. And as soon as their guard is broken, Team-wide does kind of disintegrate.
So you're saying he should, since his soccer career might not pan out, he should just, be a dating coach.
Yes.
Okay.
When you're in a group of 300 people and only one of you is going to have a soccer career after this, I'm not saying you should give up. You should fight until you die for what you want, but also have a backup plan.
Have a backup plan. Yes.
But yeah, Isagi
El
doesn't know
Gigolo.
Sign me up.
I mean, they've all got the body for it.
Yeah.
But Isagi doesn't know what his power is, what his weapon is, and so he's just being alone and sad in the cafeteria when Kunigami shows up like, "Hey man, that was a really slick pass earlier. Thanks for that." You're welcome. Why are you saying this? Because I live my life fair and square. If I don't thank you for a good turn, then that's not right by me. Anyway, have a good night. Hold on. I feel like we're having a conversation that only main characters have. Why do you play soccer?
It's almost exactly that. Like, he doesn't say that, but it's very heavily implied.
Oh, I play soccer so I can become a superhero. Not like one of those lame ones on TV or in comic books, but the main characters of
real life
tournaments. Okay, so you're just couching the entire thing that Ego talks about in the language of comic books. Yes. Hey, by the way, since I scored that goal, I've got some steak. You want it? Yes.
Well, it was half your goal anyway, is what he says. Like,
So they share the steak.
Mm-hmm. And they really enjoy it. I love this because it's the first time Blue Lock employs my favorite thing of like, we need to have a real dramatic scene. Well, the two characters meet in the cafeteria after hours because that's the only time you can have alone time in this prison.
or in the review room at night.
Yep.
Those are the two. This is also where you get the second strongest ship vibes. I'd say only strongest because the ones with Bachira happen so often, but no, it's just second strongest, full stop.
This is like really trending towards, like I said, male harem.
Oh no, there's a pair of panels in this where like they're sharing the steak, they're having a grand old time, and Isagi's just got this bright smile on his face. He was like, "Thanks, Kunigami, I feel a lot better. You're a really great guy." And it's like the reverse shot of bright smile, characters looking attractive, and then the reverse shot of eyes widen. Oh, doki doki, my heart. And Kunigami gets embarrassed and walks away. Yeah, let's fist bump. We're gonna win the next game. I'm leaving now. Bye. The actually plot important part of this is that they come to the conclusion that Isagi's power is he's got an innate sense of when a goal is going to happen. He can smell it.
And they actually clarify this pretty quickly. Like they introduce the idea of smell a goal, but almost immediately Kunigami is able to be like, okay, yeah, I like that's how you conceptualize it, but there's got to be something about it that's like more, a thing that exists. And he's able to identify that Isagi, you just see the entire field at all times. Most people, the harder they play, the more their field of vision narrows. But when you are in an intense situation, you can just identify everything. You passed to me, even though I was being guarded because you saw I had a better shot despite the guard at actually getting the goal. It wasn't, I wasn't open, but I had a better shot. So you passed to me because you perceived everything.
They get the God's eye view thing a little bit later, but this is the start of that.
Yeah,
and it's a great explanation for the initial setup of his ultra instinct moment of the white eyes and hair and whoa, I see it all. But with this understanding of our protagonist's special power, his weapon, I think it's a good time to get in a quick break before we go into game 2. Because holy crap, game 2!
Yeah, we're gonna go into halftime, folks.
How long have you had that joke waiting?
Honestly, I'm embarrassed to say I just thought of it.
Don't be embarrassed. That's actually impressive. All right, we'll be right back. Okay, you lumps of talent, welcome back to the show. I love that line. I'm gonna start using that. I'm stealing that one.
It's not even that much of an insult. It gives the idea that there's potential there. You just have to mold it.
I know, it's great. But yes, welcome back to the show, folks. Where last we left our perspective characters, because I hesitate to call anyone a protagonist in this.
The characters.
Team Z is going into their second game of the first selection, which is a bit confusing. But basically, if they lose here, they are screwed forever. So they have to win. And that's why they are busting out their secret plan, Operation Me Next 9, which is a terrible op name. But in fact, it is pointed out numerous times that it is a terrible op name.
Out loud by several characters.
But the basic point of it is that they set up a formation where it is centered around one of the members of Team Z and their specialty, and everyone goes to support that. And then after 10 minutes of the game, they rotate positions to get the new protag in there. And this way, they are playing to everybody's strengths and also constantly switching up their strategy to befuddle their foes. At least that's the plan.
That's the plan. And you might be thinking, where's the 9 come from in that? I am not the main character. The character decides to stay on goalie the entire time, and one of them opts out and decides to play defense. This will become relevant later.
Yep, and he specifically never says what his weapon is, but it seems to be... It is very mysterious, but because that character's like entire design has a lot of brooding sad boy in it.
I told Jay that character looks a lot like Kurama.
Yes, and that was exactly what I was thinking this entire time, and I'm like, yes, there was a reason why I was particularly attracted to him.
He does look like Kurama, you're right.
We haven't mentioned his name yet. It's Hiyoma Chigiri. I really like Chigiri.
Yeah, Chigiri's pretty great.
Chigiri is also number 3 in terms of the ship list. That is not an exhaustive list. Again, there is
We're building a harem, everyone.
We are building a harem.
There are strong harem vibes.
They're going in with their big strategy, their big plan, and it all seems to be going fairly well, except for the fact that Team Y keeps stuffing them out. They keep being in perfect position to counter the perfect strategy of built around each of the forward strikers.
Yeah, Team Z's teamwork is on point, but they're just not getting anything done. Mm-hmm. I also kind of love, and again, Blue Lock is self-aware enough that I read this as very intentional. After all of Ego's spouting about how the striker is the most important and defense only existed to
support the striker.
The team that focused on defense started winning almost immediately and for almost all of the game. like there's something to be said about that. I really think that that's on purpose.
Well, because his entire thing is he's like, we're going to rebuild soccer from the ground up, and like the first thing is, yeah, be the best striker, score all the points. That is what the game is about. But it turns out there is some strategy that evolved for reasons.
Yeah.
Yep. They keep getting stuffed out, and at one point they get fully counterattacked because Team Y's own Isagi, Nico, or his name is like Iko Nico or something like that. Bachira calls him Bangs-kun because his hair hangs in front of his eyes.
There's a point where Isagi says out loud to him, watch me if you can see through all that hair. Again, Asterius is self-aware.
That's between Nico and Team Y's own top striker Okawa, otherwise known as Mohawk Boy from before. They managed to score a goal and get the lead on our heroes, which means all they have to do is play the stall game for the next, 60 minutes.
Which they then proceed to do.
Uh-huh. Hey, it is the classic bit of wisdom. Play lame, win game.
No. That's not how this works.
In this case, quite literally, Well, actually, playing lame does not win them the game because at halftime, Team Z is getting disheartened by how stuffed they are getting. Not Bakugo, Raichi is screaming his head off because his 10 minutes were basically lost because they didn't let him have the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone is fighting over how do they modify the plan. Do we just stick with the plan? Yeah, we just stick with the plan. And we have the comedy break of this particular section with Loverboy Imamura doing his whole mountaintop flower thing, his analysis of Team Y-chan, which again proves to be shockingly right, but is also very funny. We've yet to talk about another one of my favorite characters very much, but Gargamaru. I like him just because he's incredibly weird. Like, in this entire manga of weirdos, he is the strangest because I don't think he blinks. He's just got perfectly wide eyes at all times.
No, and the weirdest thing is I can't even put my finger on it, but I just love his character design. It's one of the
It's very gripping.
Yes, it's a character design I typically don't go for, but I'm just like, it's just so captivating. And I don't know, it's just, ugh. Yes.
And his superpower is he's real good at jumping at stuff. So he constantly goes for headers to bop the ball with his head and get goals with it. And so that is what his entire strat is built around. Unfortunately, it ricochets off of the corner of the goal, and he scrapes his face along the turf.
But I believe it also hit the goalie's hand before it goes out of bounds, right?
Yeah, so corner shot. It's here where the plot finally clicks for our poor Isagi. His brain finally catches up to what's actually going on.
Because Isagi's been beaten down this whole time because he's still going over from Baru's whole thing of like, hey, you don't deserve to be here. He's like, everyone else has a special talent. My talent's kind of stupid and doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't have to make sense. It doesn't have to.
It just has to win.
Yeah.
It just has to score points.
Being stupid and not making sense means you fit in perfectly here.
Yes,
Yep.
if anything, you focus too much on your talent and you get distracted by other things.
Uh,
But that's not the point of this, obviously. The point is to see results.
Uh-huh.
So stop your inner monologue and just do the thing.
But as they are setting up the corner shot, Isagi senses a powerful presence behind him. And I love this manga. It's literally the darkness gathering around a member of Team Y, and he's like, this aura!
that's the real boss.
Never a dull moment.
The person who had scored on them, like everyone had been focusing on him.
Okawa, yeah.
Yeah, Mohawk dude. Because he was obviously peacocking really hard. I mean, come on, he has a mohawk.
Yeah, look at that hair.
Yeah.
Isagi recognizes that Nico is the real threat because whatever advantages of athleticism Mohawk Boy has, he can't actually leverage it without the right circumstances, and Nico is creating them.
Mm-hmm. Nico is the strategist, the puppet master of this entire game.
Which, I mean, like I said, Blue Lock knows authors that uses subtlety and thinks they're all cowards. This is very on the nose.
So while Bachira is setting up the corner shot and everyone's scrambling about in the pitch, Isagi turns and runs his ass all the way to go and start bullying up on Nico.
Ball gets ricocheted in that direction. Everybody's like, oh crap, we're gonna lose another point. But Isagi was already there and retains possession.
He manages to go and snag it away from Nico. It's like, I'm not letting you pull your bull from the shadows anymore. And then the line about the hair.
He says that almost exactly too. Like he doesn't cuss, but other than that, that's basically the line because this manga is a little extra. I don't know if you've noticed.
A little? They built a prison to make people good at soccer.
It's a little extra. That's slightly extra.
But Isagi goes for a shoot, misses, and is cursing himself out for it. But Gagamaru manages to get the big hops in and rebound it into the goal. Like, nice pass, Isagi, which is kind of the byword at this point, actually. Everyone who's scored a goal has said it.
And poor Isagi is not having a good time with his confidence issues because he mentally thinks to himself, that was a shot, not a pass. But I guess I'll take the compliment as he trudges back.
I love the next panel because Gagamaru had to do this like insane flying like wuja kick to do that, and so he slams chest first into the edge of the goal. There is a crunching noise, and Raichi's like, I'm excited about someone else's goal, which has big. This is a new feeling.
Pride in someone else. Energy, yeah. Vegeta Abridged would fit in with this group very well.
Vegeta just from the show would fit in.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
I could see Saiyan High School being a Blue Lock situation of like, we put all of our children in a cage and had them fight to the death. Only one gets to graduate. Unfortunately, this year it was Nappa.
Oh
God, think about the graduating class of Raditz then.
Oh God.
But anyway,
the score is now tied 1-1. And so our heroes have their chance, especially because Isagi now knows that Nico is the linchpin, and so long as he can continue to bully him, they have a chance.
But a tie isn't winning, so they're gonna have to keep pushing.
We get so many of those great fisheye lens shots of just zoom-ins between Nico and Isagi looking at each other. Neither of them wear glasses, but they both have the expression of push us up glasses, lenses flare. This stalemate lasts right up until the last minute when Team Y activates their final move. Because Team Z had been so aggressive, they have basically nobody on defense, and so that's when the counterattack happens.
Yeah, the plan seems to be rush them. It's so ridiculous.
It's a good plan.
It's a good plan. And that Zerg Rush almost pulls it off, except Isagi activates his main character powers and manages to charge across the entire pitch, steal the winning shot from Okawa because he smelled like a goal. And so he passes it to Kunigami, who sends it to Bachira, who takes it back down the pitch.
I thought it had to do with one of them. I couldn't remember which, but it's because it was both of them.
Bachira sends it to Gagamaru for another header win, but he misses, except
it wasn't a miss. I was aiming at someone else.
Isagi tore down the entire pitch again!
Yeah, he kind of pulls a haiku there.
And now he has the soccer battle aura and lands the kick that wins the game. And that was the moment that like awoke my childhood memory, because it's very distinct. It was me and another kid, one end of the pitch, ball gets kicked, is basically just rolling down the out of bounds, and that kid and I in a deadlocked foot race the entire pitch to gain control of it back. This is obviously way more intense and exaggerated, but the fact that it awoke that memory in me, I consider a massive W for the manga.
My soccer story is on goalie. I blocked what would have been the game-winning goal for the other team with my face and was knocked unconscious. But when I woke up, I was very happy about having saved the game.
Knocked unconscious in soccer. I think that explains a lot, Shake.
Yeah. That was a formative experience if it wasn't clear.
Anyway, that absolutely miraculous play, that insane feat of athleticism. Everyone is like jumping around Isagi like, oh my God, that was amazing, dude. Great work. And he just breaks free and walks over to Nico, who has fallen on his knees crying. And Isagi just looks down at him like, this feels incredible.
Riding that winner's high. Yes.
It's not enough that I succeed. Others must fail.
Okay, Matt.
Again, Matt wrote this manga. I love it because the final page of that chapter is just the huge zoom in on Isagi's sweat-drenched face of his heart going crazy like, this feels so good. And then Jinpachi, fingers steepled, manic grin on his face, watching the monitors. It is a masterpiece of a page. I can't get enough of it. I can't get enough of Jinpachi's face. Something about it just sends me.
I really like that scene because we get the whole thing of they have their party. Their party's great.
Their party is great. This is when Isagi gets I don't want to say assaulted, but he gets fed the meat by
Mm-hmm.
He does not want to be fed meat, but he is force-fed the meat.
Yes. The celebration!
Hey guys, I know we said we'd share everything, but we scored this goal. Those are really our stakes. We should at least get a piece.
Right, because Lover Boy is a goblin that just eats everything.
Very fitting.
They party hard. They ensured their team's survival for another day, and they all sleep well tonight, except for Isagi, who kind of gets kicked awake by Monk Boy. I wish I remembered the name of
Temple Kid. Yeah.
While he's kind of just sitting awake in the dark, that's where he gets like the pangs of guilt as he flashes back to that scene of like, oh, why does this feel good? And he's just like, man, does that make me like a terrible person that all I could think while looking at someone crying at their dreams failing was good? I'm glad I'm better than them. Like, oh no, am I a bad person? I better go for a walk, and hopefully I don't run into someone who just confirms, no, it's good to be greedy. Your hunger should motivate you to crush everyone in your path, because if you're not trying to be number one, what the fuck are you doing here?
Unfortunately, he runs into Chigiri. He goes to the replay room because he wants to watch, despite this moral conundrum, he wants to go watch the replay of his miracle goal.
I mean, to a large extent, he's having this existential crisis because that's what he wants to go do.
And he arrives in the replay room to find that Chigiri is already there, watching the exact same moment. And I love this because it's this massive screen with like a whole bunch of picture-in-picture, like it's like 16 different camera angles, ostensibly to show the entire pitch and the entire moment. But when Chigiri and Isagi are talking, every single one of them shows the like money shot of him striking the goal. It's like copy pasted out of the previous chapter, right down to the panel lines. And Chigiri's like, it's no wonder you can't sleep. Goal like this. It's an incredible moment for a striker. I had to come see it for myself.
He then proceeds to, at Isagi's prodding, give his tragic backstory.
Well, Chigiri gives the next part of the smelling a goal as Isagi's great spatial awareness. And again, this manga knows writers use subtext and they're all cowards. It has one panel. It does like a panel of basically wireframe guys running around with cones of vision, like they're NPCs in the stealth game, watching the ball, and then a big wireframe dude looming over the entire field, looking down, and it's like, oh, it's like a god's eye view. Very next panel,
it's like a god's eye view. Dun dun dun.
It's like you're looking down on the field like God. And I'm like, okay, thank you, manga. I didn't get it. Again, it's not a problem. It's very funny, though.
It's on purpose. But as I mentioned, at least slightly extra. He basically says something to the effect of, good, now that I've seen how good you are, I can just quit harder or something. I'm not 100% sure what he was talking about.
Well, he's looking for a reason to give up because, like, he's been told he's one injury away from, like, re-tearing his ACL, and then he's out of soccer forever, and he's just, like, he's living in fear of that, but he loves soccer too much to give up, so he's looking for someone to beat him so that it's not him giving up. it's his dream can die because he tried, and someone can make the decision for it to, because like living it is hurting him. So he wants someone else to be the reason it ends so that he can be done with it and move on.
I'm gonna make a strange comparison here, but it's like the character arc that Sarfang went through in World of Warcraft.
It's a very strange reference to make, but okay.
Yeah. Well, Sarfang's entire thing is he comes from a warrior culture where dying honorably is the best thing you can do, except he was such a good warrior, he kept surviving all of his battles. And so he just kept flinging himself into greater and greater danger so that he could die honorably like a true hero, and he kept surviving. And the idea that he would eventually just die from old age instead of grandly in a glorious bloody send-off weighed on him. And Chigiri isn't exactly like that, but it's close enough.
Well, they do analogize your soccer dreams to your actual literal life really freaking hard because we've been referring to it as a death game. Nobody's dying. Nobody's going to die.
But it's still a death game.
But it is absolutely framed in that way and executed in that way.
And Chigiri wants to go out in a bloody blaze of glory. He wants to have his final showing be something worth remembering instead of just ignobly dying, air quotes, dying
to an injury.
To a basic injury, yeah.
And Isagi is extremely displeased by
this mindset. Because Isagi has started drinking the Kool-Aid, and it's like, dude, are you actually telling me right now that you aren't here in order to become number one? Yeah, you don't know anything about me. Okay. I still think you're lying, though.
And then the last bit of story motion that we get is before it's 24 hours to the final game for Team Z in the round robin tournament. As Isagi is trying to figure out what he needs to do to, move forward because he's still second from the bottom, Ego pops in and says, "Oh, by the way, I'm changing the rankings." I would say arbitrarily, but this actually is one of his most motivated actions. And he bumps Isagi up to the top of Team Z.
Because it's now being based on the number of goals scored. He's just like, before it was based on your test scores and just general game performance. In hindsight, it's about scoring goals, and that should really take precedence for who's the best at scoring goals. So I guess the person who scored the most goals is the best player on Team Z. Good job. And Isagi's like, oh no. I also love the little bit of Ego's home life where apparently he's just making the manager of the team his maid, because he's like, you paid me to be a coach, not anything else. And he's just like, I really don't need to pick up after you. I'm just doing this because I personally think this is gross. You don't understand. When I played professional soccer, they basically ran my life for me. Now that I'm retired, I do whatever I want.
He's eating instant noodles, and all of the teen athletes are drooling.
We've only had rice and miso for so long. Oh my god, instant noodles look so good. Well, in universe, Henri's cleaning up after him because she thinks it's disgusting. In the manga, so we can get lots of butt shots of her leaning over to pick up laundry.
Getting real mommy vibe.
We get to our denouement where
what Isagi realizes is that I don't have quite the athleticism of some of these guys, but my game sense is better than all of them put together. So I need to train my body so that I can be at 100% the entire game through. I don't need to be a better athlete than them. I just need to be good enough to be at 100% for all 90 minutes. But now that he's number one, if he starts training harder and training extra, then the rest of his team does too. And that's the image we leave off on.
Indeed. And that does bring us to the end of our reading, which means it's time for the most important questions. So, favorite character and favorite match. How can I say anyone but Jinpachi Ego? Oh my god. I don't think I've seen a character steal the spotlight this much in a while, and that's in anything that I've read or watched. Just someone who says, no, this entire plot is about my ideals and everything will now orbit around that. Get with it or put down the manga, dumbass. I hope you're here for the ride, idiot. And I can't help but respect it. I don't like him. I don't think I agree with him. I'm not sure. But this might maybe question a few things. But damn, if he isn't the most interesting guy in this story for what we've read. And as for favorite match, as much as I love first selection match 2 against Team Y, because it is, the standard dramatic shonen battle, the tag match at the very beginning of when they're in Blue Lock, it does so much to establish the tone of the story. It says, hey, you see how we've set up all these classic shonen tropes? Fuck that. Get that out of here. Here's what this is actually about. We are hitting you in the face with it as hard as possible. And again, if you don't like it, put down the manga, dumbass.
Hitting you in the face with it as hard as possible. Just like what Isagi did to Kira with the soccer ball.
Again, I respect something that can just lean that hard into it. And I don't want to say it fully surprised me, but it did take what I expected and twist it in a very entertaining way. So, yeah, Ego and the tag game are my answers. So, Jay, favorite character and favorite match?
Oh, favorite character, so hard. So I'm going to do another twofer, and I know you hate these so much, but
I do. It's favorite character.
Whatever. It's going to be our favorite coach, Ego, just for how ridiculous he is. Somewhat relatable for telling it how it is and really commitment to the cause. And as we already mentioned, Chigiri, because yes, apparently I have a type. Favorite match. I definitely liked the second match, the one with Nico. I really feel like that was the match where Isagi really came into his own, and it was really interesting to kind of, I guess, the tension I felt was the heaviest in that match. Also, it was kind of funny to see Gagamaru kind of get his face bashed in a whole bunch. But yeah, so that was my favorite match.
Jacob, how about you?
For favorite character, in all honesty, a part of me kind of wants to say the tone of the series is my favorite character. None of the individual characters really thrilled me. That's not because any of them have any problems. It's just the characters are sort of interwoven with the wacky tone of the series to the point where, I don't know, there's to some extent an idea that saying taking it seriously is absolutely the wrong way of phrasing it, but it's the best way that I can express it, so I love it for that tone. And it's not that I'm less invested, but it's something close to that because it's so wacky. I'm enjoying it for a different reason than the characters, I guess, is the big thing. Isagi is still the one that stands out to me because man, that kid's going through a journey. He's learning some things about himself and he doesn't like a lot of them. And it just makes for an interesting character arc. I'm very curious to see where he goes, because he's definitely the biggest question mark as far as I'm concerned, as to the direction that the series could go. I mean, I won't claim to be able to predict everything that will happen in Blue Lock, but I do think I see where it's going in the broad strokes. But Isagi in particular is definitely enough of a wild card that I certainly wouldn't put any money on any of it. So he's the one that stands out to me. And I will, for favorite the second selection match is my favorite of them. The thing I liked about it was it really got you into the strategy of an actual soccer match. And I liked the mental games played and the strategic ebb and flow. a runner-up for me, I like the tag match for all the reasons that Sam mentioned, but the runner-up for me is actually also the first selection match, entirely because I really like the moment where the series doesn't point it out, but Isagi passed again. But this time it wasn't because a teammate asked him, it was because he made a call. And despite the fact that the antagonist of that, like the main antagonist of that game, says that that makes him a failure as a striker, that's actually the best thing a striker can do. And I really liked that subtle difference in why he passed. But holistically, I definitely enjoyed the second match more.
So, favorite character, favorite match. So I gotta be careful because I'm trying to think. My favorite character is definitely in this section, but I can't.
Not for the reasons that. Yeah.
Yeah, because I really like Baro and Chigiri, and unfortunately, I don't think either of them did anything that cool in this section. They're both really cool characters, and Baro almost gets there. He's pretty cool. So I guess of the characters we saw, Isagi has a lot I love. He's a great main character, and just that constant, like, him coming to terms with the fact that he has like this like desire, this like hunger that he wants to feed because it feels good. Like it's a little demon in him that's called being competitive, and it just feeds on other people's suffering. And I'm like, ooh, I know exactly what that's like. Like, you just need to beat other people because it feels good.
It's good to win.
And winning is defined by other people losing. I don't know. So Isagi's great. For favorite match, I'm gonna have to go with the consensus here. The exhibition match, X versus Y, is just where the series really comes together. Like, they've decided not to just like do incredibly dumb things like what X versus not X versus Y, Z versus Y, as opposed to Z versus X, which is like them doing stupid things and barely making it through at the end. Like, they have strategy, they've got things, and it's like Isagi really coming to terms of like, no, I'm going to be selfish. I'm going to make the goal. I am going to crush someone and absorb their pain. Like, because if I don't keep succeeding, that loser is going to be me. And I don't want that.
Now I'm on the outlier. Do you have any thoughts on how Blue Lock kind of subverts the standard shonen tropes? Like, shonen's a lot of talking about the power of friendship, and even when one character kind of shines above the others, it's, oh, my friends helped me get here. This is entirely about individual excellence.
So I don't necessarily. I would push back against that a little bit, because there are a lot of shonen tropes where, yes, that is true that it is about teamwork and friendship, but there's also the shonen tropes where it is about individual development and growth. And so there's more of, this is more forceful in learning those hard lessons. So I don't necessarily agree that it's a subversion. I think it really hones in on the resounding reality of the situation of, yes, teamwork is absolutely important. Friendship is absolutely important. But if you want to get results, if you actually want to defeat the bad guy, if you actually want to score points, if you actually want to be number one, you got to focus on yourself and being the best.
So you would say that Blue Lock is kind of taking off the mask in that regard?
Yes, exactly.
It's leaning into specific tropes of shonen rather than doing the breadth of shonen.
Indeed. I gotta say, what Jay said about how this kind of just, it kind of stopped lying to itself, basically. That's a pretty good point, because in a sense, I think a lot about Dragon Ball, where there's the meme of,
it's always Goku.
It's always Goku. We just wait for Goku, yeah. And then Goku talks about how there's moments where Goku talks about how his friends helped him reach the high points that he's attained. And I know that's not like Whatever, Jake, you can rant with me about it when we're not recording.
No. It rapidly becomes lip service. And I mean, like, even in the good parts of Dragon Ball, it actually does start, like, the shades of the memes start before I start hating Dragon Ball. It's a legitimate writing problem that Dragon Ball has always had, and that indeed a lot of shonens have.
Having a manga that just says, no, this is what this is actually about. This is what we're all here for. So here's 11 Gokus. Here's 300 Gokus. Start cheering for the one you want and pray they make it, dumbass.
Yeah, like, as someone who reads a lot of sports manga, like, it has the same trouble shonen does, but it's actually sometimes even worse. It gets a little saccharine about how much it's just like, it's all about our team. We're working together real hard. And I'm just like, are you? Like, because you keep having these speeches about teamwork, but then the main fight is like main character scores the point on his own and wins the game because you want that catharsis of someone fighting for something and achieving it. And it's like, you pay this lip service. Blue Lock comes in here and says like, hey, I know we're a death game. Fuck working together. If working together is not scoring you points, it is secondary to being a giant asshole who scores points. Because this is a game about scoring points.
It doesn't matter how good your teamwork was if it didn't get you more points.
Like,
it tears away all pretenses.
Every character in Blue Lock would be the villain of another manga. Like,
oh yeah,
that's kind of hard to accept on first blush, because my bleeding heart likes stories that elevate teamwork and the idea of working together, we can be more than what we are individually. I like that, but at the same time, it is a little disingenuous and saccharine, like you said, Matt, when a sports manga
has an explicit protagonist that goes against that through its own narrative.
Has an actual hero.
Like, saying teamwork is important is inherently contrary to the idea of having a shonen hero. Because if you say everyone's important and they're all equally as good, it's like, then why is one person just
obviously the main character?
Like, it's the problem a lot of superheroes go where they're like, everyone's a hero in their own right, except for the person who's genetically superior to everyone. And sometimes you walk that line and you just fall straight over and go like, okay, yeah, you're weird.
There is a strong element of this is a common pitfall for this type of story. Not all shonens make this mistake, but even good ones can. As mentioned, this is honestly probably the biggest flaw in Dragon Ball as a narrative. And Blue Lock just does not care about that sort of thing. With that said, though, I have a bit of a different take on it. Like, I don't disagree with any of the stuff said, but there is something that I can't help but notice. And I tried to make a point of, and this is mostly just from me not reading as much as I wish I did. So Haikyuu is the only other sports manga I've like sat down and really read, as opposed to just sort of like perused in a bookstore or something like that. So I didn't want to make too many comparisons to Haikyuu because I guess I didn't want to show my slip and then I just said it out loud. But I do think that there's an interesting comparison between Blue Lock and Haikyuu. Extremely important element from Haikyuu that I think is an interesting contrast to Blue Lock. Oh my god, I had his name in my head up until just this very moment. The deuteragonist of Haikyuu. Sam edited me actually knowing the name.
No, you don't get away with that. If you don't know it on the field, you don't get to score the goal.
His serfs revolting against him. Mm-hmm. Is like, if you take it to the illogical extreme that Ego is already at with his mentality about strikers, that's the situation you get into. Like, we even talk specifically in Haikyuu, like they do the teamwork thing extremely well. And, they actually don't have a single superhero. They do justify everybody on the team. And on top of that, they show what happens when someone thinks that they are the main character. It goes badly. And the really key and important part is he didn't realize when it was his teammates failing or him failing. Didn't matter how good he was. He like sometimes he just messed up, but he couldn't recognize it because he thought he was infallible. But the thing I can't help but notice about Blue Lock is, in addition to its self-awareness, on top of that, there are also elements like it's setting up Isagi that his ability to pass when it's necessary. There's a difference between pride and arrogance, or put another way, there's a difference between confidence and ego. One will make you fail. The other is required to succeed. It's one of those ones where, like, I could see Blue Lock going one of two directions. And it's like, this is my guess as of now. Watch me be proven completely wrong. But sort of the way I'm reading Blue Lock up to this point is that this whole individual excellence versus the power of friendship thing, it's either going to end with ego showing that he actually was as much of a genius as he thought all along, because that is part of the lesson, and Isagi is the striker he's looking for. Or alternatively, Blue Lock is going to end in a giant punchline about how, yes, this was as stupid as it looked the entire time, and it's not going to work. And honestly, both of them would be satisfying in their own way, especially if the latter option, would have to, obviously not be insulting the readers or anything. But I could totally see this pulling off a curveball like that, because it's almost all curveballs all the way down. So, and I mean, like, the only other thing I can think of is that, to a large extent, I do see shades of, and arguably done better, some elements of a lot of Hiroaka's themes. There are some elements of Hiroaka will attempt certain thematic elements, and it usually succeeds, but then there are other cases where it a little bit trips on its face. Because individual excellence is a major theme in that, but Blue Lock being like, I don't give a damn about your feelings, sort of lets it just say it out loud. There should be series that make points like that, and Blue Lock really leans into it.
All right, and would you continue reading? Matt, you're exempt from this because you say that you keep you read this all the time.
You are. Yeah.
I am continuing reading, so I've already done it. Haha, you can't stop me.
Absolute 100% for me. One of the things I really loved about this manga, and something that I didn't get a chance to talk about in the actual review section, is this manga's great at cliffhangers. Like, okay, so when we're doing the reading for something, I break down, I do a pretty basic, how many chapters do I need to read a day to be ready for recording day sort of thing. There were multiple points in this where I went beyond what was necessary for the day because I can't not find out what happens.
Oh yeah, I chunked 2/3 of this in one sitting. And the first reading section, like the first 4 chapters, a giant amount. Yeah, it's an entire volume.
And specifically, the one that comes to mind is the transition from chapter 11 to chapter 12, because it's Bachira setting up for the corner kick. He does the corner kick, and Isagi runs away. And the final panel is Bachira looking off in the distance, like going, Isagi? Like, what the hell is going on? And I'm also like, what the hell is going on? I need to know. So I kept reading.
As for me, the short answer is yes. The longer answer is, as I mentioned, after having read Haikyuu, there is a part of me that kind of feels that Haikyuu is more thematically fitting for me. For the 10 billionth time, we reveal the indomitable truth that Matt and I are exact opposites.
If I like something, Jacob doesn't. It's pretty true.
It really comes down to the way that I read Blue Lock is, from what I can see, seems to be coming at a similar idea as Haikyuu from a different direction. It's really more, I'd rather finish Haikyuu first. But with that said, I'd totally continue reading this at that point, and I very much look forward to doing revisits on Blue Lock that would get me to, do it now. It's on my list. It's nowhere near the bottom of my list. It's like upper end middle of my list. And then that just means because of how slow I read. I've been getting better about that. I have read some stuff, but
so in another 5 years, Jake will have caught up if we never do another episode.
Oh, please, no.
And yes, I would continue reading. It's a resounding yes.
But yes, thus brings us to the end of the episode. So thank you everyone once again for tuning in to the Over Manga Cast. As always, you can find us on your social medias where we are at Over Manga Cast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We're also on YouTube where episodes go up 2 hours, no, 2 weeks later than they go up everywhere else. And you can both like, comment, and subscribe. That's 3 things, not both. God damn it. I'm not retaking it.
You can both like, comment, and subscribe.
Yeah, you know what? Good save, Matt. Talk about the website.
Yeah, we also have a website where you can go and listen to our episodes individually. There's also a good old comment form at the bottom if you want to talk to us directly. Or also, we love getting emails. That's not how emails work. overmangacast@gmail.com. You can go ahead and write us if you've got a suggestion for anything we'd like to read, or just, tell us how cool we're doing. Or as if you're on the way to tell us how cool we're doing anyway, we do appreciate reviews. So Spotify, iTunes, wherever else you can put a review, I guess. We appreciate them.
And make sure to tune in next week.
Wait, Sam. Do you hear that? Do you hear the army of skeletons that are marching here? Oh, geez, yes. There's so many of them. And they're all playing tubas and maracas. Wow, what a cacophony of sound that was so elegantly mixed in order to convey what was happening. No, that's not actually happening. Well,
I do hear the skeletons, though. I do hear the skeletons, and I don't like what they're carrying. That's. I think that might be an HR violation.
We go into the spooky month as we start our series of horror manga, but in the vibe of Elvira and the like. Halloween's going to be a little bit sexy this year.
Fear, arousal, they're not too far off.
For normal people, they should be, but Sam, you do you.
Hey.
You can cut that joke if you want. That was kind of mean.
No.
But next week, let's get into the spooky season as we start reading Gleipnir, chapters 1 through 14.
I have no idea what this is, but I'm looking forward to it. Good night, everybody. Okay, no one else is saying good night. That's the end of the episode.
Is Jacob dead?
That's his name. It's Kageyama.